Thank you for coming out. I always like starting any presentation I do, speech, with a little music, because in school, if we sit down, we slouch, it's easy to kind of lose the engagement, right? There's a stat I learned that after a seminar, a presentation, 90% of what we learned on the spot we actually forget. So that's why even during this presentation, sometimes I might bring the music back on and wake us up. I know we're right before lunch. And like I said, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you to Ecclesia Church for hosting this amazing event. They have an amazing venue. Give them a hand. And I always like to start the music so I could see who has that energy and enthusiasm and excitement to learn. And I know this conference is about finances. And when I say finances, most people think immediately towards debt, right? Expenses. And I also look at that as it's not a bad thing, but it's a bit of restriction, right? Like scarcity staying in the same place. And I always think about, growing up when we were 10 years old and we had all the dreams in the world, no limitations, right? Like we didn't think about restricting ourselves. We didn't think about limitations. We thought, I can start a business, I can grow, I can change my family tree, I can change my family's entire legacy. And that's income, right? Because when you look at your finances, you have debt, you have expenses, but you also have income. And as Christy mentioned, I've worked with her since day one of Fantastic. I've worked with 1,500 other clients. And, everything I do with clients is focused on how do we take the knowledge that they already have, the expertise and the experience they have, and turn that into a business? Because I bet everybody here, if you could go back to when you were 18 years old, you'd probably have at least millions of dollars worth of advice in terms of relationships, finances. Don't marry him, don't marry her, right? And good stuff about health and relationships, and especially money and business. And so, this is for anybody. You don't have to be a business owner. You could just be an everyday person. Most of my clients are, and that's why, it's passion to profit. It's not about, trying to fit yourself in a certain business box. It's saying, hey, everybody here loves something. And you might think, Alex, but I can't turn that into a business. But I promise you, I've worked with clients that teach yoga, that teach you how to fast, that like Christy, she teaches people how to manage their money, but she doesn't have an MBA. She doesn't have a finance degree, but you can tell when something's real. You can tell, everybody knows when something is a little flaky, a little BS, but when you watch somebody on YouTube, you can tell everybody's here because of Christy, because she's authentic and real. And that's what people want. They don't care about if you have a degree or a certification. They want to work with people that are real. And so that's what I'm going to be going over today. And the world has changed. Right? If you want to start a business 30 years ago, you'd had to have gotten a storefront. You'd have to get employees, a lot of overhead. To open up a McDonald's, it costs $1 million to $2 million. And for most people, they're like, I'm just not willing to do that. But when you think of starting a business with your expertise, with your passion, all you need, like Christy started with, all you need is a phone. It's nothing crazy. And that's what I'm going to be going over in this presentation. And my name is Alex Albarran. I've worked with over 1,500 clients, like I said, in every industry you could imagine. My clients combined have 1.5 billion client views on YouTube. And I only say that because, most of my clients are old enough to be my parents or grandparents. And I say that as a humbling thing because, they look at me, some young 27-year-old kid, and they actually want to take advice from me. But like I said, I've been doing this for a while, and I know what works. And but trust me, it's not, Alex, I don't have a degree. I don't have the certification. I've never done this before. Again, we live in a world where trust in news and the media and institutions is at an all-time low. The value of a college degree is at an all-time low. People want to self-educate. They want to learn online. So that's why all of you are here, because you watch YouTube and you said, how do I pay off my debt faster? How do I pay off my house faster? Debt payoff strategies, velocity banking. And that's the reason why you're here. You sought out the information, you came across Christy, and that's essentially what the business is. But, for me, I didn't start here. I started, if we can move the slide. There we go. I started, growing up on food stamps, and money was always a topic of conversation, and it never was a good one. If that's you, raise your hand, say I, right? Say I. Come on, everybody. There we go. Money was always a topic of conversation, and it never was a good one. It was always, we don't have enough money to pay for sports. I don't know how we're going to pay for school clothes. It was always, we were full of love, but my family, but there was always a topic of scarcity around money. So I didn't grow up around this. And, I sold my car to actually fund my business because I didn't have any family backers. And, it was a $4,000 2007 Mazda Speed 6. And I actually sold the car because I was 18 years old. I was broke. I'm like, why do I need a car? Where do I need to go? I have no money for anything anyway, right? So I literally sold my car. I funded my business with that $4,000, and I grew ever since. So when I tell people to take a leap of faith, when you think of faith a lot of the time is believing in a brighter future when you don't have evidence in the present that that's going to happen, right? Sometimes faith is like, I'm broke, I don't have any skills, I don't have a college degree, I've never worked with a client. Who am I to start this business? But having faith is saying, I'm here for more. I'm not just here to start a business to help me. I'm here to help other people like Christy and make an impact. And everybody has that. I don't care who you are. And that's my beautiful wife. And we're actually pregnant with our first child. Thank you. And at the end of the day, what matters most with most of my clients, it's not, the fancy beach house. It's not the fancy cars or Lamborghinis. I have clients right here, Kendra, Courtney, most of the people that I work with, everybody talks about freedom. Right? Everybody, if they have a 9 to 5, if they are retired or a homemaker, I've talked to tens of thousands of people, and I promise you the commonality between all of them is that they say, Alex, I want to spend time with my grandbaby. I want to spend time with my kids. I just want more freedom. They don't need to make millions of dollars, and they want to help people, right? They have a passion, they have a skill that they can help people with. And that's the main idea. So believe me, that's why I'm young, but I'm not into the fancy watches or cars. Everybody here, I'm sure, wants more time freedom, financial freedom. And you want to be that person in your family tree that changes everything, right? So that's why you guys are here. When there's Netflix, there's news, there's NFL, there's so many things that could take your time. But you guys are the ones that could change your family tree because you made a decision and you committed to it. A lot of people say, oh, Christy, when you host a conference, I'm going to be there. I'm going to make the time. I'm going to spend the money and I'm going to show up. And, she has 442,000 subscribers and we might have 200 people here. So you guys are the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. So give yourself a hand because you're taking action, just like Christy. When I first started working with Christy, she found me through another client and she said, Alex, this isn't going to work for me. Vicky knows. Christy said, Alex, this is not going to work for me. People don't want to listen to my Tennessee accent. And I was like, that's why they're going to want to listen, right? You're relatable. That's exactly like you could tell she's like your genuine, authentic aunt that just wants to help you. But she came to me at zero. She had no clients, no subscribers, no business plan. And I have a lot of people that also tell me, Alex, I'm going to hire you to help me grow my business when I get a business plan and when I get everything in the world figured out. And most of the time it's opposite. We had a few conversations. She told me no. She said, you're a young kid. I'm not going to work with you. This isn't going to work. And I sent her an essay back over text. I'm like, we're going to work together. We're like, this is happening. This is going to be amazing. And, the rest is history. I mean, she has 35 million views. Everybody's here because of her. Thank you. Everybody's here because of Christy. But aside from the logic, the emotion is that she had such fear, right? Fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, right? Who's going to listen to me? I'm going to get negative comments. Right. And so she took action in spite of that. And what's that called? When you take action in spite of fear, courage. Courage. Exactly. So when people, again, I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, Alex, I want to grow a business, start a business. I have this $1 million idea. Everybody in this room has had a $1 million business idea. Like you've gone into Walmart and you're like, that's that little gadget. I see, honey, I told you we could have done that, right? But what differentiates the people that take action and have that $1 million business and the ones that don't? It's acting and having faith that I don't have all the answers. I might have, a little bit of a plan, but I don't have all the answers, but I'm still going to take action anyway. And that's what Christy did. She didn't have all the answers. She started with me when, I was still younger in my business too. And she took a leap of faith on me, but she is the most hardworking woman I've ever met in my life. And everybody knows that if you work with Christy, if you talk to her, she emails me at 2 a.m. sometimes. I'm like, damn, you need some sleep or something. Yeah, I'm going to send you a Starbucks gift card for some coffee tomorrow. But again, I think everybody here at their one point in life has had that passion. They've had an inkling, they've had a dream, but with life and society, they want you to be a worker bee, right? They want you to go to high school, maybe go to college, maybe not, get a job, stay in the job and live off Social Security and hope that that's going to make you financially free. And I think we all know the answer is not that. Raise your hand if you agree. Say aye. And say hi to Scott Van right there. He's the man with the plan, because Christy, she was like, Alex, I'm not working with you. This isn't going to work. Goodbye. And I'm like, no, let's set up another call. Let me talk to your husband. So then Scott, who was, if you don't know him, he was a former, canine police officer. And so he worked with canines and he was, to be frank, around, some sketchy people a lot of the time. So he has and he worked in prison. So he knows when somebody has a good heart or when, they're not to be trusted, right? And so he was listening to the call and I was like, let's work out a deal. Like, I need to help you so you can help millions of people. And Scott was the one that pushed her and said, Christy, you have to do this. So thank you, Scott, because without him, I promise you, I don't think we would be here today. So thank you so much. And like I said, guys, what really matters isn't, the money and the watches. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that. But I think everybody here is at a stage in life where, it's about the freedom, right? It's not nice to have a boss and then you have to ask them to go to the bathroom, right? Like when my clients, they work with me, they're not like, Alex, I want to make millions of dollars. They're like, Alex, I want to help people. I want to lead with impact. And if I can build a business around it where I can maybe work from home and do my own thing, that's the goal. So believe me, the goal isn't this big fancy lifestyle at the end of the day. And as I mentioned, it's not about degrees. It's not about anything like that. It's about people want knowledge that they can value, right? More than anything else. None of you, who here has asked Christy, hey, let me see that finance degree before I work with you? Has anybody? I hear crickets. Right? Just like me, I'm not like, hey guys, so I did go to Florida Atlantic University. And like, again, we live in a time and age where that doesn't matter for credibility. People don't really care. They care about who are you? Why should I trust you? What are your values? And do I connect with you? And can you help me solve my pain with your solution? That's all they care about at the end of the day. And like I said, guys, this is for anybody who has a business, is thinking about starting a business. I've worked with people that are 20 years old, 80 years old, and everything in between. And like I said, I want you guys to start taking some action and write down your current annual income. So if you guys have a piece of paper, oh, there we go. I'm playing a cat and mouse game with the team over there. I click and they're trying to read me. So if you can write down your current annual income, I want you guys to start again. We want to engage so you guys can learn, but then also retain the information. So if you guys can write down in your phone, I like to see some pens, some phones, write down your current annual income. And when I go through this with people, I've done this so many times, everybody knows the answer to the questions, but when you write it down and you walk through it, like you feel all of this, that's the key. Because sometimes in life we get comfortable and we're okay just being okay. Raise your hand if that makes sense, say aye. Aye, come on, everybody. We all at some point in life have gotten comfortable with money, with the relationship, with our business idea not happening. So we all get comfortable, but sometimes it's good to have the evidence right in front of you of here's what I'm doing now, here's my current annual income, and here's what I could do. And I also want you guys to then write down, how does that make you feel? Is it proud? Is it frustrated? Is it stuck? Is it feeling like you can do more? And I only mention income because when Christy started with me, she wasn't talking about, Alex, I want to make this much. She was all about, how do I impact people? How do I help people? And everything else tends to work out from there. But it's also an objective target. Just like when we want to lose weight, if I say, hey, how much weight do you want to lose? You're not going to say, I want to lose a little. You're probably going to say, I want to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds. When you think of growth, you have to measure something to improve it, right? So I want you to write down, how does that make you feel? Is it proud? Again, is it frustrated? Is it stuck? And I also want you guys to write down, what is your dream life? Because we all in life, sometimes we marry our limitations and we divorce the truth of our unlimited potential, and we need to flip that paradigm. Right? We really need to divorce ourselves from our limitations, because we've all had dreams, or we've all as a kid, we have no limitations. Society hasn't really, gone down on us. We don't have a lot of stress. Everybody has thought, I can do that. Like, I can do what Christy does. I can start that business. But sometimes we don't map out, well, what is my dream life? Because if we want to make a dream a reality, we have to separate it, because we all have had dreams that then don't come true. Like, oh, I dream I'm going to win the lottery. But if it's a dream, it's so far off, it's very flaky, and it's not going to happen. So I want you guys to write down, what is your dream life? Like, when you wake up, what does that look like? Where do you live? How much do you tithe to your church or give to your nonprofit organization? How generous do you want to be? What does freedom look like to you? Because at the end of the day, paying off debt is not a bad thing, and, cutting expenses, but again, it's restricting. It's saying my income is never going to go up. I'm not going to grow. So the only thing I can do to improve is minimize, is restrict. Let's not go out to eat. Let's, not go to Disney World. Whereas everybody here, if you had a dream life, if you had no limitations, you'd be going with the grandkids to Disney World, every single month, right? So I want you guys to write that down. And again, does anybody want to share? I'd love to see if anybody wants to share. I want to make this engaging. If anybody feels like if they want to share their dream life or how their current income makes them feel. So you want to help people go from, and give her a hand. Thank you so much for sharing that. And she wants to help people go from where they're currently at to where they want to get to. And again, that's with anything. That's with health, relationships, money, finances. That's what everybody has a business for. They're trying to bridge the gap. And why people buy anything like coaching or consulting, or you pay Christy, is you say, you know what, I could learn velocity banking on my own. It's true, you could. But when you work with someone like Christy and watch her videos, she's bridging that gap a lot faster. And also what she mentioned is wanting to wake up, work out, and just work from anywhere, or like not having to go somewhere, having that freedom. And I think we all want that, right? Do you feel like you deserve the freedom, or do you feel like you want it? Deserve? Anybody? Are you committed to it? Or are you interested? Committed. Exactly. Because a lot of people, they say, Alex, I'm interested in doing something. I don't know. I'm like, I'm interested in what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. I'm committed to achieving success and being the one in the family tree that helps hundreds of millions. Then with my family, I can take care of my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my mom, my dad. Like, there's always that one person in the family that takes it to the next level. And it's somebody that makes a decision, and they're not getting there inching their way to that decision. It's one day they make a commitment, like Christy. She's like, I'm going to make videos. They might suck. And she said that they did when we started. She would send me a practice video, and she'd be like, here's the video, Alex. This is garbage. She was like, Alex, this is trash. I don't want this, right? So who believes that they deserve and are committed to achieving that better life and achieving that success? Raise your hand and say, I. Stand up if that's you. I want you to stand up. Again, I know lunch is coming. There we go. Thank you so much, everybody. I love that. I know everybody here, and give yourself a hand. Give yourself a stretch. I love that. Thank you so much, everybody. Feel free to take a seat. And I think when you're committed to something, you make it happen. If I'm committed to, if I'm going to have a baby, giving them the best care, the best education, the best food, I'm going to make it happen by any means necessary. But again, if we're interested in achieving an outcome, it usually doesn't happen, right? And I think most people, they go to church and they have faith, and even if they read the Bible, but I also feel like sometimes I've worked with 1,500 clients, I also do feel like people deep down have a certain belief that their future is going to be worse than their present today. Deep down, they might not say it, but they don't necessarily believe that I deserve, I've earned, I'm committed to achieving a compelling future. And again, a compelling future isn't about my yacht or my boat or me. I think we all know most of the people in here are probably 30 to 70. And I think people know that it's about the people around you and the people that you're helping, right? So if you have a compelling future, that's going to help everybody around you at the end of the day. So it's not about you. That's why even going up on stage, I mean, remember, I was the kid in high school that was scared to give a 2-minute little addition to a class presentation, right? Anybody here scared of public speaking? Say I. Say I. Everybody here has been scared of public speaking, right? So, but again, when I wanted to improve, and as I'm doing this, I'm not worried about Alex, how does my hair look, and like tweaking myself. I'm worried about you guys. I want this to be a very impactful hour because I respect your time. And again, you came out here, you drove, you flew, you spent the money. Even if you got a ticket, you got the hotel, food, like I appreciate that. So again, when you guys think about, but Alex, I'm going to be scared of making videos, or Alex, how am I going to look on camera? I'm like, we have to shift the paradigm. And who do you want to serve, right? Just like she mentioned, helping people with their relationships. She might at first be a little uncomfortable if she's making videos or on camera, but she has to focus on the mission and your why. All right, so I want you guys to write down, what is the reason why? Why do you want to grow? Why do you need to grow? Why are you committed to growth? And I promise most people here, it's not going to be you. It's going to be, I want to get my son the best education. I don't want him to have student loans like I did. Or, for my mother-in-law, I want her to stay with us, have a bigger house, more space. Or again, I think when you write down your why, it helps you push through tough moments when it's easy to quit. Right? If my why is so I can make more money and eat at nice restaurants, I'm going to probably quit when the going gets tough. Right? But if your why is bigger than you, if it's helping a lot of people and within your family, you have to write that down, because the money is a means to, again, serving. It's a tool, just like this church. It runs with money as a resource. It's not a bad thing. It's reality. So when I keep saying money, it's more because it's an objective target to show where you're at now and where you want to get to. And of course, there's so many things stopping all of us. Like I said, we all have these limitations and beliefs and things that keep us down. I promise you, I've worked with everybody from somebody starting their business to then somebody that's a Fortune 500, CEO that I coach. Everybody has these limitations. I don't care who you are. So that's why when I help clients start a business, it's not all logical. Like, hey, here's this marketing funnel that we're going to do, or here's how you're going to post on YouTube. A lot of the time, that's the easy part. The easy part is the how, right? If you're going to put a kitchen cabinet in somewhere, there's a step-by-step plan on how to do that. If you're going to put some IKEA furniture together, there's a step-by-step on how to do that. But when you're battling against yourself, which a lot of the time we're our own worst enemy, that's the biggest thing that we need to focus on, because when the opportunity comes to do something big, exciting, and that could change your life, we then stop ourselves. It's really never an external reality. It's our internal conversation saying, but Alex, when I pay off my debt, then I'm going to start a business. Right? Who's thought that? Say I. Everybody's thought, oh, well, when I pay off my debt, or when I do this, or when I do that, then I'm going to do the thing that can transform my life. And I promise you, there's never a right time. Who here has kids? All right, so basically the entire room, raise your hand if you had the kid at the perfect time. Oh, I know Kendra has, how many kids do you have, Kendra? She has 7, and one of them, I've met him on Zoom, he's a giant. He's like 6'7", 300 pounds, and she has an amazing family, but I talked to you about it. None of them came at the perfect, right, magical time, right? But they're a blessing to all of us, right? So when we think about starting something, doing something, growing a business, it's never going to happen at the perfect, magical, easy time. There's always going to be a storm in life. And I don't know exactly what verse it says in the Bible, but God never told us that we're going to have no storms. It's going to be clear skies 24/7, 365. He told us that he's going to give us the strength and the resilience to stay strong during the storm, push through, and make it to the other side. Raise your hand and say I if that makes sense. There we go. And again, I sold my car to fund my business. And I only share that because, I've done very well financially. I've done very well in terms of impact, but it started with that decision because failure wasn't an option, right? If I met her back then, I didn't have a car, I was going to take her on my bicycle to go on a date. So I said, no, I need to focus on this right now. I need to make this happen. But we all have ownership of our choices. That's why I said, anybody that looks back in time, you could probably give yourself $1 million worth of advice, but we're all here today. You've all had challenges. You've all have pushed through things. So you have to have ownership of your choices. And again, we've all made mistakes, but you might be here thinking right now, okay, this is intriguing. Maybe I'm not committed yet, but again, at least listen with an open mind because you need to divorce yourself from your limitations. I say that all the time because we all say, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of embarrassment. But the number one advice I give people, the piece of advice that can change anybody's life is that the number one failure is never trying. Everybody as a parent has made mistakes. That doesn't make you a failure. Many people that haven't had kids, they think the failure is I never tried. I was too scared. I let the fear control me and then it's too late, right? So at a certain point in time, you guys might be in a position right now where you could do something, but there will be a point in life where it's too late at the end of the day. And we don't have to go to the other slide, but now I'm diving into, well, how do we do this, Alex? This sounds pretty interesting. So when you're starting a business, people make the mistake of minimizing the importance of marketing, right? They focus on, I want to get a logo. I want to get a t-shirt. I want to get the fancy stuff, the website and all that stuff. And yes, that's a part of marketing. But when I think of marketing, I think of supply and demand, right? Does anybody know the best-selling Girl Scout cookie saleswoman, sales girl? Do you know where she was stationed out of? And for my clients that know, don't spoil it. This is a good one. Anybody know? Raise your hand if you know where the best-selling Girl Scout cookie saleswoman is. Raise your hand. Right there. Outside the bake? Outside the bank. Okay, go ahead. Walmart, almost. It's a different type of Walmart for another product. Patricia? The gym? No, it's outside of it. I'm sorry, God. We're in a church, but a weed dispensary. I'm so sorry, God. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But it's a medical, it's legal. It's fine. So are they the best cookies? Yes or no? No. Are they in the right place at the right time? Yes. So when you think of starting a business, don't think about, well, what about this and what about that? And don't get in your head. Think with your heart and think, okay, I have something to offer. Where can I meet them? That's why with Christy, when I first started working with her, she said, Alex, maybe I could start doing it in my local area. And I said, first of all, the scale is too small. Think of, to get all of you here, she's gotten 35 million views. So imagine if she tried to reach 35 million people in person, it would take 5 lifetimes, realistically, right? So when you think of starting something, think, how can I meet my ideal clients where they are? Because again, the best next spot to open up a Girl Scout cookie booth is probably outside of a baseball game or a football game. People, they're tired, they've been in the sun all day. Any food sounds good. Or opening up a hot dog stand. It's not about having the best hot dogs necessarily. It's about being in the right place at the right time. So when you guys think about starting your business, think, how can I exceed demand for my supply? Which, when you're starting a knowledge business, which is a passion, expertise business, your supply is your time. It's your coaching. It's, how many events you can do. You want demand to outstretch the amount of supply that you have at the end of the day. And again, that's where, when you think of supply and demand, that's why Christy does YouTube, because she does it for free. People have changed their life watching her on YouTube for free. They haven't paid her $1. But again, when you help a lot of people, there's going to be a small subset that says, you know what, I want to grow faster. I want to grow faster, bigger. How can I hire you? That's why she's done virtual events, in-person events, coaching, group coaching. So the mistake people make is that they start a business and then they want the business plan for the next 10 years to be mapped out. And so think of when you're building a business, you have 16 building blocks. So imagine on this stage, if I had 16 kind of steps to success, steps to building a business, most people make the mistake of thinking, Alex, the first 15 steps, I need to get those perfectly planned out. I need a certification. I need a degree. I need more time. I need more knowledge. I need to read a million books before I have anything to offer. Then when I get to that point, the easy final step is taking action. And we all know that doesn't make sense because it's flipped. You have to have some knowledge. Just like you mentioned, you want to bridge the gap on people in their relationships, but do you have the entire playbook on how to do that yet? No, but you have value, you have knowledge, you have experience, and sometimes you get wisdom. How? How do you get wisdom? By doing and what? And fail, but not failing, you learn, right? You make mistakes. And so that's why the building blocks to success are, the first step is having something. You want to have, again, an idea, some knowledge. The next 15 steps is taking damn action, right? Just like working out, we all know what it takes to eat healthy. Everybody here knows. So we don't need more knowledge. We don't need another book or a YouTube video. Everybody knows if you eat salads and fruit, you'll be pretty decent, all right? But doing that is the hard part. Taking action and staying consistent over a long period of time. And that's why with marketing, you have to make them aware, but you make them aware by having stamina, right? The mistake people make is that they post videos or they, do some marketing. And then for the first 10 videos, they're like, Alex, something's wrong with YouTube. I don't have 1 million views yet. What's the deal? This is effed up. This is BS. And I'm like, no, you've done 10 videos. Christy's done 3,000. So just like with anything, you have to put in the reps, you have to grow, but you have to have stamina. So write down, you have to be consistent over a long period of time. Just like with working out, I use it, it's an easy analogy, but if we all want to get in shape, nobody's going to get a six-pack by going to the gym one time and working out really hard. It's going to be probably going to the gym 20 minutes a day for 7 days a week for 5 years, and anything is possible. And the key with great marketing is that you build trust at scale. Who here trusts Christy? Say I. Everybody here is here because of Christy, so raise those hands and say I. Everybody here trusts Christy, and if she introduces somebody that they're the real deal, she's not getting paid, like this is the real thing because you trust her. But that's also marketing, which isn't a bad term, but you trust her because you've watched hundreds of videos. Who here has watched 1,000 Christy videos? Patricia's watched 1,000. She has. Who's watched hundreds of videos? So think of 100 videos, and the average video is 7 minutes long. So you've watched however many hours of Christy and her content. That builds trust at scale. That's how you turn a stranger into a client. And that's why YouTube is the place to start because it's free. It doesn't cost any money whatsoever to post on YouTube. It's what I call your trust machine. Because again, I could do this speech and I could just limit it to this room right here, or I can take this, put it on my YouTube, maybe I get 1 million views. So this hour of time that I invested, it helped the people here, and then it also maybe helped 1 million people, or I might get 5 views, right? But you have to be unemotional and unattached to, I posted this video and it didn't get many views and maybe people don't like it. Again, you have to have stamina and think, I could post a video, I don't even look at the views. I just post it. I'm like, if it helped 5 people, then even better. I'll tell you a story. So a friend of mine, he's a personal finance coach, Denzel Rodriguez, and that's how Christy found me. So he was my first client, one of them, like almost a decade ago. And he's like, Alex, I'm hosting an event in Ohio. He's like, it's at a church. This is going to be huge. You're going to speak in front of like 300 people. This is like 6 years ago. So I was a little nervous. I'm like, all right, I'm going to fly. I'm going to go. I'm going to do this. And how many people do you think were there? 3. There was some miscommunication, or maybe it was his communication to me or his lack thereof. Maybe he accidentally had a few zeros. So there was literally like a table of people right there. And I could have been mad, maybe pissed, like, oh, I wasted my time and this is such, wow. Like, no, but I said, no, I'm going to deliver my absolute best as if there was 1,000 people. But then I gave it my all, and then I posted that video, and then it got like 10,000 views, right? So that's the point of YouTube, is that you can invest your time. Like Christy's done one video for 10 minutes that's reached 5 million people, one video. And there's nothing like that. If you wanted to scale a McDonald's, a chiropractor, an in-person business, that takes a lot of money, a lot of time. You have to get another location, you have to get another lease. Whereas if you scale on YouTube, it doesn't take really more time in terms of short term. It takes time long term, and doing it consistently until you get the result. And if you guys want to write down this next slide, the 4-step blueprint, write this down, because now we're getting into the good stuff, the how-to. So the first step is building your offer. And if we want to go to the next slide, because this is the most important part of every single business, because most businesses start and they immediately focus on, well, how can I market? How can I make money, Alex? How can I grow and get sales and make some income? I tell them they need to slow down. We need to focus on, who are we serving? Who are we helping? What is their pain? What's their problem? Because if we focus on the ideal client, right, the person that we'd love to work with, like Christy is my ideal client. Look, she's like my third mom. I have a mom, a stepmom, and Christy. I got 3 moms, not bad, right? So she's amazing, and she's my ideal client because she's coachable. She came in, a little bit initially battled with what she had to do, but then she put in the work and she grew. But you have to focus on, who's my ideal client and what's their pain, right? If anybody needs a drink of water, it's because they're dehydrated. So then their need is getting water. So their solution is, let me get some damn water bottles, right? But it's that simple. You have to focus on Christy. The pain that people have with their finances isn't that they have to pay off their debt. Why do you want to pay off your debt? Anybody, raise your hand. Why do you want to pay off your debt? Just because, or freedom? Options? So that's the pain. Think of the pain as a lack of options. Think of the pain as a lack of freedom. So when you think of somebody's pain, then their need is to get coaching, and they need help bridging the gap. And that's where then the solution is, maybe I hire Christy for a coaching call. Maybe I go to this conference. So I want you guys to write that down. Pain leads to a need. And when somebody needs something, they're going to be committed to finding the solution. Like I said, going back to the Girl Scout cookies, God forgive me, please. But seriously, if somebody walks out of that whatever dispensary, they're starving. We all know the term. They're starving and they have a need. That's their pain. They're starving. Their need is, I need some food ASAP. So their solution is, oh, there's some cookies. That sounds amazing. And again, it's not that they're the best cookies. They're in the best positioning. They're in the right place at the right time. And that's the idea of, if you understand your ideal client, you'll understand where they spend time. Again, I understood Christy's ideal client from day one. So that's why I told her, I said, no, we're not doing local stuff yet. You have to build a brand. You have to grow. So I said, that's why you need to go on YouTube, because people go on YouTube, and YouTube is unique because people search for information, right? Stuff pops up on our feed, but you search, for, how do I work out? How do I grow a business? How do I pay off my debt? So people are actively searching for the information. And that's why the first step that any of you should do is start a YouTube channel, because it doesn't cost any money whatsoever. It definitely takes a little, embarrassment at first, because you're holding the camera and you're like, oh, this is awkward. I don't know. And, but it takes really, again, just you against you. But anybody could launch a YouTube channel talking about mechanical stuff, cars. I have clients that talk about anything under the sun. I have clients that talk about, peptides and finances and growing a business and selling a business. So that's the key, is that you launch the channel, but you start making videos, and just start making videos. Take your phone, have your wife, have your husband shoot you. It doesn't take money. Like, that's where most people say, Alex, I don't have money to start a business. And I say, no, you lack resourcefulness. Raise your hand and say I, if that makes sense. Raise your hand and say I. Lunch is almost here, guys. We're almost there. So when you have resourcefulness, you don't need money. You'll find the way. Again, if you're committed to something you find the solution, you find the way. So with launching a YouTube channel, you don't need anything. You just need to start doing it and give it time, because then you build your audience, right? And as you build your audience, like with Christy, her first 6 months, Vicky, it was basically nothing. She made $0 and, but she never focused on, Alex, I'm not making money. Alex, this isn't working for me. I thought it would work faster. Me. She was like, Alex, I could care less. I'm going to be making more videos. I'm going to make them better. I'm going to scale it up because I want to help people. I need to help people. People need this information, right? So when you build your audience, it's all about not how can I get viewed more? It's about how can I serve and help people? And that's, again, why you guys are here, because you felt that from Christy, even on a phone screen or your laptop. You could feel she wants to help you. And then, of course, you're like, you know what? How can I support her business? Can I go to her event? Can I get her coaching? How do I help her? And that's how you monetize. Or you monetize a business by saying, you know what? Let me help people. Let me add value, and everything else from there is going to work out. And I promise you it will. So again, your business plan should literally be, what do I like talking about for free? Like, what advice would I give my little niece or my aunt? And I would just love helping them with it absolutely for free. That's a sign that you should take that. Start a YouTube channel, start talking about it. It doesn't cost any money whatsoever. And just help. Don't worry about, but how is it going to make money? And how much time does it take? And I don't have the time. I always say, everybody, if I said I have the winning lottery ticket in my pocket, but you had to invest 1 hour a day into making videos and you would get it in 90 days or a year, everybody would be like, I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to do it. But people don't, because it's not a guarantee. When you start a business, when you launch a channel, it could blow up in 30 days, 300 days. I had a client that kept going for 4 years. Nothing was really happening. Now he has 2 million subscribers. Stephen Gardner, you can look him up. So a lot of people just need to reframe and say, how can I serve? Not me, and how am I going to make money? Christy never thought about the money. She thought about how can I help people? And the money followed, because then people said, hey, Christy, I want to learn more. So she said, okay, I can coach you. And then people said, oh, I want to learn from you, but I don't want to pay that much. So she said, I'll do group coaching. And then she said, okay, let me do an in-person event. And then people said, oh, I want to go to your event, but I can't go, or I don't have the time. And that's reasonable. So she did a virtual event. Or people said, oh, Christy, your last event was in Orlando. I live more north. She said, okay, let's go to Myrtle Beach. And so that's why we're here. So when you think of how can this make money, you build the brand, you add value. People are going to be begging to give you money by saying, I love what you do for free. I wonder if I pay you, how good you're going to be, because you're amazing for free. And so I want you guys to look at this next slide about reverse engineering your income. Because again, a slide that I skipped over was what's your dream income? Like, what's your dream life, dream house, giving, tithing, family, all legacy. How much does that cost? And you might have to do the exercise at home, but a lot of the time people are like, Alex, I just want to maximize and, get my freedom going and make what I made at my job. But if I want to live my dream life, not realistic, dream, how much would that take in income to make that happen? And most people are like, wow, I need to, my mind is so scarce. I need to 10x what I'm doing, right? And so I want you guys to look at that and break it down from what's your target income per year, then what is it per month, then what is it per week, then what is it per day? Because when you think about 250,000 a year, 500,000 a year, it's a big number. It could be 10x what you make. It could be 5x, and it can get a little scary. But when you break it down on a monthly, weekly, daily basis, you're like, I have the skills, I have the drive, I have the hunger. If they could do it, why can't I do it? Who thinks that here? Raise your hand and say, I. If this guy does it, if Christy does it, if everybody on the stage has taken that leap of faith and done something different without all of the answers, they took a leap of faith, why can't I do it? But you have to, again, map it out, because some people start a business and they get in the car and they drive and they don't have a destination, right? Imagine if you were going in the car saying, hey, kids, we're going to go to Disney, and you just drove. It's like, are you going to go to Disneyland all the way out west? Or are you going to go to Disney World only 5 hours from here, 10 hours from here? So when you get in the car, you start a business, you have to map out what's the target. What's specifically, where do I want to grow? Because then let's say you want to make $500,000 a year, it's not going to be easy. So you're like, wow, to make $500,000 a year, I probably have to help millions of people, right? If you help millions, you might make millions, right? That's the mindset shift people should have when starting a business. Because again, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've spoken to tens of thousands of people one-on-one or in group formats, and people focus so much on my money, my this, my that. Again, you want to set the target so that you can then work to help people and let it fall into place. But again, think big, because something I hear also is, Alex, I want to start this, but the market's saturated. Who here has thought that? Say I. Right. We've all thought, oh, but Christy, she's talking about finances, so maybe I can't, right? Maybe the market's too saturated. Maybe my time passed. And think of our economy in the United States. I think it's a $4 or $5 trillion economy, not million, not billion, trillion. So when you think of starting a business and building it to $100,000, $500,000 a year, we're not breaking the economy by having a business of that size, right? We're not thinking with enough scale, because we're thinking small. How can I do something local, or how can I, help 10 people, 50 people? Christy's had like 5,000 customers to do what she's doing. Like, it takes scale. So when you think of starting something, you have to have stamina, because, building this machine of content, which builds trust, which generates leads, which gets clients, that's not going to happen overnight. So you want to give yourself time, and you want to get that stamina going. And again, everybody here can get paid for what they already know. Does anybody have an idea and they're skeptical? They're like, Alex, nobody would ever pay to learn about X, Y, or Z. Does anybody have that in the audience?
So I successfully opened it through the state. The market was saturated. I got discouraged and closed the business. But now my $1 million idea is cannabis nursing. For nurses, the sky is the limit. And with cannabis, you don't have to worry about having a prescription. So I don't have to worry about the doctor limitations. And I want to do it in a home health care way, especially for families and people who are worried about the stigma of medical marijuana and want that hands-on nursing care to teach them about the different modalities.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing. I love that. And I think the cool thing about that is that, that's a niche within a niche within a niche. And that's a great thing, because when you think of, that's kind of still an uncharted territory in a sense. So sometimes we all have these ideas, and again, we're like, the market's saturated, or who's going to understand this? And that's why YouTube is great, because you can educate people. You can sometimes you have to educate somebody on what their problem is. Right. So you can educate them on, hey, when people say marijuana, it's like, whoa, we all kind of raise our shoulders and we get a little stiff. But when you explain, no, here's the benefits, here's how this could help your father, your mother, your mother-in-law, it is natural, right? There's a lot of ways that you can educate people on it, educate them on, you're doing this other solution exists. And if you're interested, let me know. And I think that's great. So give her a hand. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And again, I mentioned Stephen Gardner. That's him and I in the snow. I'm a Florida boy, so I was freezing my butt off, right? But he's an amazing client, 2 million subscribers, and he has 3 kids, a stay-at-home wife, and he started this during COVID, and he was an insurance and kind of retirement, specialist, but people in COVID didn't pay their premiums, so he started going from making $10,000 a month to losing $8,000 or $10,000 a month, and he's like, I might lose my house. I need to do something differently. So we said, get on YouTube ASAP. He's a good speaker. I'm like, just start talking, get some content out there, and we'll figure it out. And he's my biggest client. He has 2 million subscribers, 800 million views out of his basement. Literally a basement. So people think they need a fancy studio and setup. No, we need simplicity, because people know when something's real. Everybody knows Christy's setup isn't, high-tech 101, but it doesn't matter. It matters about her and how she wants to help people. And this other client, Dr. Steve Turley, that's him and I shanking some golf balls. But he has 1.5 million subscribers. He was a professor, and he hated, he didn't make really any money. He has a big family. And we said, let's go on YouTube and share what you're professing to 10 students in a little local college. and now he's gotten probably 500 million views. And like I said, guys, the market's saturated and the timing is off. Everybody has these restrictions. And I want to hear, anybody have any specific limitations that have stopped them from doing what they know they could do in life? Anybody here? We all have them. Anybody brave? Anybody? Yeah, Patricia? Give her a hand. Yeah, I saw her hand it was like half waved. I'm like, let's make it happen, Patricia. How are you?
Oh, Alex. I hired Alex as my coach.
Give her a hand. And that was a big leap of faith for her. That was.
Yeah, I didn't even do my due diligence. I just said yes. And I have been struggling with fear. It's kind of, see, I can't even film a video without shedding a tear. It's excitement. It's hope. My demographic is the Latino market, specifically for velocity and infinite banking. Everything I've learned from Christy. I'm so excited to be here.
Christy, give her a hug. Give her a hand. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, and like I said, I think Patricia, we've had conversations, and I appreciate her being real, because everybody here, if I can share, it's fear of success. It's fear of the unknown, I think a lot of people have. Go ahead, sir. What's your name? Where are you from?
Marquel Joseph, and I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Awesome.
Yes, I live in Pontiac, though. So, it was multiple things. I was a working man, so I kept on switching from job to job, and stayed at a couple, but I always had a calling just to help people with their vision. Actually, just to do it.
You said helping them with their virginity?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Just to help them with their identity and finding who they are. And using vision and identity collides together. So that's why I want to help with that. And I always had, oh man, I don't got the time. Then God kept on telling me to quit. And I was like, oh my God, money. I mean, I need money. And I kept on going back to work. And then I always said I just didn't have the time to do it. Until he said, okay, I'm going to get you a good car. And now he wants me to do Uber.
So you're going to drive Uber?
Yes, I'm doing Uber now.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying, now you got the time. So what you about to do? And I'm like, And I was like, it was another one that was talking about, oh man, I don't got a good camera. And then my wife is like, you got your phone. And I was like, okay, so
and give his wife a hand, because she's telling it like it is. She's not comforting him, saying, oh honey, it's okay. She's like, get out that damn phone. Start making some videos. Let's go.
Yeah, so
I love that.
It was mostly those two excuses. And I was like, you know what, God, all right. So the fact that we're here and you're talking about YouTube, he was actually telling me about YouTube. So this is a blessing.
I said I don't have the money. I said I don't have this. I said I don't have that. And I appreciate you sharing that, because everybody's had that thought. But I think I've been doing this for a long time relatively. And the number one fear is the fear of the unknown. Like a lot of us in life, we like certainty. Raise your hand and say I if you like certainty. Everybody likes certainty. Say I. Everybody likes it. Certainty of that's why, who here has watched a movie before and then you've watched it again? Why? You like the certainty. You're like, oh, I know he's gonna, break up with her and then kiss her and everything is gonna work out. My wife and I have watched The Notebook 7 times, right? But we do it because we like certainty in life. But when you start a business, you do something differently. You lack inherent certainty. It's uncertain. It's the fear of the unknown. You're going kind of in the wild, wild west. But again, sometimes what I recommend people to do is look when you're 80, 85, 90, even close your eyes and, think if you're in a rocking chair and you're at the end of your life, you have kids, grandkids, maybe even great grandkids, and you want to think, what if I never took the leap? Because it is a leap. You're jumping out of a plane without a parachute. And you're like, we're going to figure it out on the fly, literally. Like Christy, imagine if she looked back when she was 80, 85, 90, and she just never took the leap of faith. And that's where you guys want to do that kind of rocking chair test sometimes and catch yourself when, especially when you're alone and our brain has a negativity bias to say, here's why that guy Alex was wrong. Here's why this isn't going to work. Here's why you don't have the time. You don't have the money. But you have to learn that you're not going to get over the fear. You have to push through and have that courage in spite of that and bet on yourself. So many people do stocks and insurance, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to bet on yourself because at the end of the day, you are your biggest asset to you and your family. Raise your hand and say I, if that makes sense. Right? People sometimes go external in terms of who's going to change my family. It's not going to be the government. It's not going to be any institution. It's going to be you or it's going to be nobody. Right? And so at the end of the day, the cost of doing nothing sometimes is the biggest cost in life because people say, Alex, it's too expensive, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. And it's like, but you're missing out on so much. Again, it's that there's an opportunity cost to everything you're not doing. And that's why at the end of the day, as I wind down, I want to implore you guys to think, you can do this on your own 100%. I've had some people, they've came to events, that I've done seminars, they watched it, they did it, and they messaged me 3 years later and they're like, I'm successful and everything worked out. And I'm like, great. But there are certain people, maybe even like, my great client, Patricia, Kendra, Courtney, Christy, where they need a little bit of hand holding. Right? They kind of need hand holding when they might, trip up on themselves and, they might stop. And they might need the hand holding to say, no, let's keep walking. Let's keep pushing forward. And the fastest way to get to that success is in a straight line. Whereas most people, they go this way and then they make a U-turn and then they go this way. And then they're busy, but they're not productive. Who's ever done that? Say I. We've all done things in life where we're not productive. We're not going in a straight line. And so, again, I can definitely talk to a lot of you after this as well, but I want to put up, as I wrap up, my QR code because I do coach people one-on-one. And essentially, like Christy says, I help her with her marketing, sales strategy, and really everything from A to Z. Because like I said, most people here, you could do it on your own, but I bridge the gap a lot faster. And so there's a QR code. It's a free conversation. Christy will even mention probably when she gets, back on stage that this isn't a paid call, or sometimes I have a free consultation and I'm like, hey, you're not a great fit for what I do, but I'm going to give you some free coaching, right? I'm going to at least put you in the right direction because no, absolutely. My pleasure. Because I'm here to serve. I'm not here to enrich myself. I look at that in my notes every day. I write down what I'm grateful for, and I'm grateful to be here today. So thank you all for having me.